Welcome to the Faith in Action podcast, the home of modern day Christian storytelling, where real people share real stories about our real God. Behind every breakthrough is a believer who chose faith over fear. This season, inspired by the parable of the 5 talents, we're diving into the lives of believers who made a choice to bury their gifts or build with them. In this space, God gets all the glory, Christ gets all the praise, and the Spirit gets our loudest hallelujah. So hit subscribe, tap that notification bell, follow, and engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. Just search Faith in Action Pod. Let's jump right in with our next guest. Nathaniel, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
Honestly, I appreciate this. This is the first time we're linking up in how many months?
It's
been July. Was it July last year?
July last year, literally.
Goodness me. So that's what, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, nearly 9 months.
Yes.
That's crazy. That is so crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long while. But
thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your experience here with us. Truly appreciate it, honestly.
Pleasure.
And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes.
But just before you do, I met Nathaniel when I went to the BUC Youth Congress,
That's
right?
Correct.
In the Netherlands.
Yes, that's the Netherlands. Brunswick.
I remember Brunswick.
Yeah,
and I remember I wanted to go and I had no one to go with.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, how am I gonna? Do you know what I mean? Who am I gonna go with?
Yes.
And then I messaged in the group chat. There is a WhatsApp group chat for Iron Sharpens Iron.
Yes.
Which is led by Chingy and the team.
Yes.
I just put in there who's going, and then we connected, and then also Kingsley.
Yes.
We connected, so Kingsley's been on the pod as well.
Yes.
And then we flew together.
Yeah,
you
literally.
came over, we flew together, and then we spent literally every day there together.
Yep. Uber there to the main place and back, and
it was so cool. It was so cool. It was such a great opportunity to get to know you.
It was.
And also for me, being able to reach out and then someone to say,
that's right.
Hey, do you know what I mean? I don't mind coming, even though we didn't know each other. For me, I feel like that's
well.
and you were going, and I feel like that's for me, it was really impactful because it showed me how the community at church actually does want to support each other.
And they do care.
Especially for newbies like me, who don't have a big community in the church. So I truly appreciate that. But anyway, let me stop talking. So that's how we know each other, in case anyone's wondering.
Yes.
So introduce yourself.
So my name's Nathaniel. I'm from a church called Edmonton. It's an Adventist church. I also work in a hospital in the medical engineering department as a medical equipment technician. I love sports. I like music as well. I used to do drawing quite a bit, but I also love reading. And sometimes I like to write poems as well. So that's
Lovely.
a bit that you're hearing about myself.
We're going to have to hear them poems. What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I got a few
oh
poems,
my
yeah.
gosh. Not you being poetic. All right, Solomon. But
well,
yeah.
A little bit of Solomon with the Proverbs and all that.
More Proverbs rather than Solomon. Okay. Maybe it's a mix of both.
Yes.
But no, thanks so much for that.
Yeah.
So as you know, this season, focusing on the 5 talents.
Yes.
And more specifically, really looking at the passage in Matthew 25 from an element of skills.
Yes.
So, there's so many different characters in there. They do one thing or another with the talents that their master gives them.
Exactly.
So which one of the 3, the one who hid 1 talent or the one who multiplied 2 or the one who multiplied 5, which one resonates with you or has resonated with you as you've been looking at the passage?
Well, as I've looked at that passage, I was more close to the actual the 1 talent.
Okay.
Because bearing in mind my experience to going to become a deacon in my church to becoming an elder. An elder I didn't take on straight away.
Okay.
I was asked once.
Yeah.
And then I didn't take it on. And I was asked twice again by the same pastor.
Yeah.
Didn't take it on. I was like, I'm not ready for it. And I'm thinking, okay, I've got away.
Yeah.
But then when the next pastor came in, he asked the same question.
Wow.
And I was like, right, Lord, I've been asked once, twice, 3rd time. And now I'm thinking, Lord, it's 3 strikes, so I'm out. So I'm thinking, you know what? Let me take this on. And from then on, 2020, I was ordained.
Wow.
And now it's been for almost nearly over 5 years now I'm an ordained elder. And I thank God and guided me in that spiritual journey, spiritual mindset as well to help me to grow.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, I never thought of myself as going out to give Bible studies, preaching, helping someone to get baptized and so forth, and in those areas to go forth in that area. Yeah. And lo and behold, 5 years down the line, I'm doing that and I love to keep.
Yeah.
So whenever I go around to different places and so forth, or go to different churches, I'm like, Lord, help me to please be a witness to somebody out there so that I can make a great impact.
Yeah.
Not just for myself, but for them
Yeah.
and also for God's glory.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
Mm.
I mean, the fact that you recognize, your journey to becoming an elder.
Yes.
It got identified in you.
Yes.
That you have a skill, a
Right.
talent,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That you yourself you couldn't see it.
No.
You didn't want it.
Nope.
You were like refusing it by all
Yes.
means. Like we
Yes.
all do that. We were like,
Yes.
God, this
It's
ain't
not-
for me.
it's not
This
happening.
is not my title.
Literally.
Like what is
Literally
this?
the case, yeah.
But it's so beautiful to see how like you remain close with God, because I
Yes.
think in order for individuals, for Christians to be able to see God speaking to them, you
Yes.
have to have that continuous relationship with
Exactly.
him. So if you didn't have a relationship, which we're going to explore,
Yes.
you wouldn't have seen him saying it a second
Exactly.
time,
Exactly.
saying it a third time,
Exactly.
and
Exactly
really
that.
turning to him and saying, okay, Lord, are you really asking me to do something I don't want to do?
Exactly the question.
Yeah, so that's like so beautiful. So I guess, okay, let's take it back a little bit before
Okay.
we get to you becoming an elder.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. What would you say? Because again, just as we discussed, your relationship with God is
Yes.
one that you seem to have conversation with him
That's
and communication with him.
Yeah.
So I guess thinking of like your journey
Yes.
up until that point,
Yes.
what has helped you on that journey to be able to, number one, hear God's voice?
Right.
Because that's what I'm getting from your story is
Yes.
you could hear it, you
Yes.
could see it,
Yes.
and a lot of us are not
Yeah.
like, akin to or even, comfortable or even have that closeness with God where we can be like, okay, this is God talking, this is not God talking.
Yes.
So what would you say, like, in your journey growing up, or like, your Christian journey has helped you be able to discern the voice of God?
Right. So, how do I look at it? Basically, I got baptized around the age of 13.
Okay.
But I don't believe I was connected to God until the age of 17. I went on an art course with my friends, and literally we were in Barcelona actually. And I decided to stay back on the Friday night to study and so forth with the Bible, because it was the Sabbath and so forth for me. And then what happened is some of my friends, they came back from being at the nightclubs and so forth.
Yeah, they was out in the streets,
Yeah.
10 toes in the Barcelona clubs.
Yeah.
So you stayed back.
I stayed back.
Wow,
I stayed back, reading through the Bible and so forth, and literally, and then it was the case of where one of the guys came back and he wasn't feeling good at all. Had drunk something and was literally all over the place. I came out because I heard a bang on the door on the hotel room.
Yeah.
Came out, picked him up to carry him, and all his friends who were so-called friends were there, but they weren't helping him.
Wow.
So myself and another guy helped him and put him into his bed, because he was in my room actually at the time.
So
Our
he
hotel
was your roommate.
roommate, basically a roommate, yeah. And then what happened is the next day, because of what I did with my beliefs and so forth, I gained more respect from the other guys that were there. And
Wow.
it was the case of where it grew, and I'm thinking, okay, Lord, these people are not actually afraid, or these people are not actually, saying, oh, your religion is weird or your belief is weird.
Yeah.
It's the case of where, we actually rock with the fact that, you stand up for something rather than fall for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe because it's not just for something,
Yeah.
is where they start to ask more questions the next day. And then after that, we went back to college and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, Lord, this is something I can take on and move forth. So then from there on, I wanted to study a bit more and just know a bit more. 'Cause bear in mind, I had studies before I got baptized, but
Yeah.
for me, that's just general. It wasn't really like where it was in depth.
Yeah.
But now it's the case where like, I want to get to know God for myself.
Wow.
Around the age of early 20s, so forth, I got to even more to that.
Yeah.
And then that's the case where there was more questions asked from other people within the church, like, would you like to do this and so forth. But it's the case where I was always looking to contradict myself, as in I didn't want to do it, but I was always watching sermons. I was always reading through scripture and so forth, looking through things, whether I'm on the bus and so forth, going to college and so forth, or I'm going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm driving, I'm listening to messages and so forth like that.
Yeah.
And then it's the case of where the call comes through. So it doesn't matter how far you try to go, but
Yeah.
if you're actually contradicting yourself and moving in a different, apparently trying to move in a different direction,
Yeah.
God's always going to try and hold into you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as much as how far you can go,
Yeah.
if there's a chance, definitely a chance for sure, God's going to try and reach and keep following you.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I was like, right, God, I've got to turn around
Yeah.
and come your way.
Yeah.
I mean,
One thing I love about what you said is
Yeah.
when you were in Barcelona,
Yes.
number one,
Yes.
you already had some type of discipline,
Yes.
to not get FOMO, okay,
Yes.
and be like, I want to be there 10 toes in the club too. So I feel like that already shows that there was a level of relationship.
Yes.
There was a level of awareness at the
Yes.
age of 17, even though
Yes.
you got baptized at 13, did you say?
13, yes. 13, yeah.
So that's like a good, 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Where you knew what was right, what was wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we, as Christians, we can obey God's word just out of
Yes.
fear and out
Yes.
of just no, you shouldn't be doing this, rather than no, I want to spend time with God.
That's right.
And you actually wanted to spend time with God, rather than not. So it wasn't out of fear. It was for me. I'm seeing it as a way of out of love and wanting to get to know Him more. And I also think another point, like where your friends come back, right? One of them is completely intoxicated, whatever. And your friends, when you're there helping them. They literally actually see you and like are bigging you up and like they're reaffirming that you're doing the right thing. And I think a lot of people don't get that. No. I think in this day and age, like there's so much peer pressure. And I can only imagine like 17, I'm not going to try and bait out your age. But, if you think about like the social media and stuff like that, now youth nowadays, like they have so much more pressure. It's not only from your peer group, but it's also online in terms of wanting this fast-paced party lifestyle, momentarily fleeting kind of joy type of lifestyle. And I think it's a lot of people get caught up in trying to do things with their friends and for their friends and they lose sight of who they are. But something I'm getting from like your journey is the fact that actually you stood firm and then your friends reaffirmed it. Like you said, they didn't take the mick. A lot of people take the mick,
A lot of people take the mick. And then can I also add another thing also, like on my social media, I didn't actually want to be on Facebook or any social media to begin with. My best friend was like, oh, come like social media, come on Facebook, because Facebook was the big thing at the time. I'm like, oh, bro, I'm not really for that. Just what's this about? Just going on talking about walking to the park or something, about what's on your mind. I'm like,
can you stop coming for me, please, Nate? Can you stop coming for me, okay?
Because this is what
we were posting, we're in the park,
anything, and I'm like,
what?
I'm like, come on now, like, is this
don't come for us, okay?
So like, literally, when I came on, like, I'm like, what is this, innit? So then when I came on, I was like, right, let me write something that's inspirational, something like, it doesn't have to be a biblical quote, it could be just a quote. So then I started just doing that randomly, writing on different quotes, and one of my friends was like, what are you, some philosophical genius, bro? I'm like, no, I'm just writing something that makes sense, that will get you through the day. Like, suppose you're thinking you're having a hard time, I'm not gonna have a good time or so forth, when I'm just hearing about you walking to the park.
You wanted to inspire people when you actually joined it. That's mad. That's
and
so
then
crazy.
and then basically I was like, right, let me sort of structure this and put this into a better way of putting things. So on Tuesdays on my Facebook, I write like a Bible text.
Oh my, this is at what age?
This is around my early, I think before 20s I was doing that shit.
Before you're 20?
Yeah, around 20s,
okay.
Around that age.
So Tuesday was Bible.
Tuesdays for Bible. And then what I decided to add for those who were non-Christian and so forth, or didn't have a general belief, I used to write just a general quote on a Friday.
You know what? We need to explore this a bit more, because how you were refusing to become an elder, I'm confused. Because, sorry, what? Is this not preparation even before you're 20? Naif.
But you know what?
This is mad.
But you know what? The thing is, my main fear of when it came to the whole eldership was the whole preaching thing. Because with the eldership, I didn't mind teaching Bible studies, but then you're preaching in front of, it could be from
the public speaking element.
Bear in mind, my church membership was around 200, but then the other memberships are around 500 and some going close to 1,000.
Wow.
That's not me. It wasn't me at the time. It wasn't
you,
Yeah. But it's a case of where I had to realize that I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it because God sent me there. And whenever I've been told to go and preach, I had the butterflies, of course, but when I'm up there, I'm up there.
You get the confidence. God gives you the confidence.
I'm
that's
up there.
so
Like,
that's
everything
so good.
just goes, and it's like, Lord, you're leading this. That's it. Take it.
Okay, so let's take it back a bit. So you don't have social media, right? So you mentioned, like, you were mentioning the fact that you didn't have social media at the time, like when you were out with your friends, etc. So did that alleviate some of the pressure before you got it in terms of having that pressure to conform to your friends and that the lifestyle then? And
it did, because literally I came on and I'm thinking there's nothing really being put out there and so forth. So let me go and put my two pieces in terms of like the gospel and stuff to go forward and actually encourage us, inspire somebody, help somebody. Even to the other day, when was it, last week, at my work, basically in the hospital, there was a guy that came up to me and said, look, I'm considering going back to church run on Sunday because of what you've been putting up.
Wow.
Now,
that's so impactful.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't care whether it's Sabbath or Sunday that it goes.
So you still do it till today?
I still do, literally.
Oh
so, of
my
course,
gosh, if that's not dedication, sorry. What?
So I don't know if you noticed, but it's the case where I've been putting up different texts and so forth almost every day and so forth. But now it's the case where I like sort of structure that and just leave it to Tuesday and Friday. And so. But it's the case where I didn't know that it's helping people. Even people who are not of Christian identity and so forth,
Yeah.
but are from other religions,
Wow.
are looking on and they're like, let's just say I've taken my time to send one out or something like that. They're wondering, when's it coming?
That is crazy.
That's
So
what
you're
I've
having
been
an
told.
impact and you're having a following without you even knowing it.
Yeah.
Because you're actually just doing what you love doing
Yes.
for God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you actually just want to share it, and you found your own way of doing it on social media rather than using it for a self-serving purpose, which is what it is. It's all about, looking good, whatever.
Yes.
You've actually been able to use it to further his message.
That's it.
And you weren't doing it with the intentions of, I want to do this to amass, a following or whatever. But slowly, the friends you have are actually looking at it as a positive, as a cheering up moment, as a boost for them to get through the week.
Yeah, let me tell you, Narima, I went from saying I'm going to some church thing on Saturday and so forth to my friends to saying I'm outright going to church. Like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Either you take me as I am or you watch me as I go on to something else. Whoops.
Yeah,
but it's a case of where literally I'm thinking whether you want to or you don't want to, just the path I've decided to go and just go forward and let God lead. Yeah. Because for me, it's either God's way or it's no way.
Oh, it's no way. That's so true. Okay, so what I'm getting from like what you're saying, which I want to explore a bit more.
Yes, of course,
is how did you become so anchored on your values, your morals, anchoring that on God? Like, I'm feeling like it was something that was maybe when you were even younger. Like, maybe you can talk a bit more about that because the peer listen, okay, I have fallen. Listen, I've had FOMO. I used to suffer from FOMO so badly. Thank God I'm no longer there because I'm
all I've sinned and fallen short of the glory.
Yeah, so, but like it's something that is so difficult.
Yes.
So talk us, like, share just a bit more about where did that anchoring come from? Where did it start? And what types of routine behaviors, things you were doing to kind of nurture that and build that, which helped you then in your adult life.
Yes. Yeah. Well, first things first, I thank God for my mum. Like, it's the case of where she basically grew up, basically raised me and my brothers in the right way, to go into the right way, to treat people in the right way, and to do what's right. I mean, Psalm 23, my favorite psalm, that's what I learned growing up and so forth, and still is today. I have it on my Instagram page and so forth. That's my favorite. And it's the case of where, like, I ended up going to prayer meetings and I was doing stuff on Sabbaths as well. Saturdays for those who don't know. So, and it's the case where literally I was always active, always, and then
always connected to the church.
Always connected.
Okay.
And on top of that, because there was a lot of men around as well that I looked up to.
Oh, wow.
Male figures in church that were, looked up to you and said, right, these guys are becoming deacons, becoming elders, and they're actually showing the right example and so forth, and they're always around us. That's what I grew up into. Yeah. But it was just holding steady. But it's like, for me, I couldn't imagine on a Wednesday evening going anywhere apart from going to a prayer meeting.
Wow.
And the same thing for church on a Saturday.
On Saturday. That's so beautiful. The fact that it's just something inside you.
Exactly.
That's actually like so beautiful. And also I've picked up on the fact that you mentioned that there were men, role models that you had in church. Like, I know nowadays there ain't a lot of men in church, okay? It's mainly women, okay? So I think the youth nowadays, they finding role models, and not necessarily even just the youth. I think it's just even up to our age, to be honest. Like, finding role models outside of the church, because we're living in this cost of living crisis, So, like, everything's expensive. Like, you're seeing the lifestyle again on social media. Everyone wants to make quick money. People are turning to things that are not right to make money. Because they're not seeing those role models at church as well. But there isn't even the role models to role model the good behavior as a man. I think that's something that's actually quite powerful, and I think it's something that's missing for our young black men.
And it's pretty much like taking on the same message but with different methods. So of course, for example, the iPhone has lasted for so long. I remember when the iPhone 4 came out, everyone was raving about that. So what has been following the iPhone throughout that time is the Samsung. And keeping up to the point, it's got a better camera. Yes. Even though I've got an iPhone, I'm not willing to.
I've got Android. Let's not start this fight.
Let's not go to that. But but literally,
I thought we left that 9 months ago. Yeah, what's going on?
No worries. We will get to that afterwards. But it's the case of where look, the message stays the same, but the method has to change. And once I heard in the sermon, you can't be trying to talk to somebody who's living in a Ferrari sort of era. Trying to move and get them a Fiat Punto sort of method. And
Yeah.
That was what the sermon was basically mentioned. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, that's pretty true. You have to
Yeah.
sort of move with what's being mentioned around now.
Yeah.
And I think if Jesus was around this time, he wouldn't be talking about chariots and so on and forth
Yeah.
in his parables. It would be more about cars.
OnlyFans and all of these places.
Well, yeah, I don't want to go to OnlyFans, but
Come
the
on,
other
let's
things,
get real.
But other things, let's
Yeah,
get real
yeah,
bit. There'll be
yeah.
other things that'll be spoken about relating to our time.
Yes.
It might tickle a few,
Yeah.
throats and so forth. Like, not
Yeah.
too sure about, but it's the
Yeah,
case
yeah,
of at
yeah.
the end of the day, it's relating to the time that we're in.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that's something that we're kind of lacking. I think
Yes.
I see it a lot with more of the younger pastors now.
Yes.
I think they are talking more relatively to like
Yes.
this generation, and being able to talk about conversations and topics that
Yeah.
were taboo, because that if we're talking about matters where that our people are actually in,
Yes.
our children, our
Yes.
youth, ourselves are
Yeah.
actually going through, then
Yeah.
there's more of a chance where I do want to go on Wednesday to
Exactly.
prayer meeting, because the word I'm going to get is actually going to help me with what I'm
Exactly.
struggling with, rather than going and hearing a message
Exactly.
that is so disconnected to my day-to-day life.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's something that is missing. And even yesterday at my church,
Yeah.
we had a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Semple, who came and spoke on sexuality and holistic sexuality.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like trauma and how sexuality is impacted by so many different things:
Yes.
cultural, social,
Yes.
physiological,
Yes.
like hormonal. Like there's so
Yes.
many impacts on
Yeah.
sexuality. That's a topic. I mean, I know I only got baptized like nearly 3 years ago, in the
Praise
SDA
God.
church. But then I was a Catholic beforehand,
Yeah.
Well, I was born and raised Catholic, but I've never gone to a church. The amount of sermons I've watched,
Right.
I've never heard the topic of sex in a church setting. Do you know what I mean?
Same, format,
And they're using Bible to,
Yes.
and they're saying, okay, this is the Bible verse, and this is the actual science that backs up. And even the gentleman who was talking, presenting, they're both therapists and counselors. He was like, Jesus was so ahead, and this is
Yes.
how he was God.
Yeah.
Because what he was saying,
Yeah.
science is proving the physiological aspect, where it says like, if a man lusts for a woman in his mind, he's already committed a sin.
Yep.
And
Going
he was
deeper.
showing how the body,
Yep.
from looking at it,
Yes.
how your body already is reacting
Yes.
to that
Yes.
stimulus. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was just so powerful to say. I think that's a good point. I think having messages that are relevant, could draw people in, and keep people
Relevant
wanting to
today
come.
with the right reactions, I would say, because of course, suppose a child wants to tell you something, or a teenager wants to tell you about something, and then you're like, huh, what? Like, what are you talking about? The moment they hear that, it's almost like curtains closed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell this guy anything, or I'm not going to tell this lady anything, because they're going to start to judge me and so forth. And it's about just letting them say their story without having to respond, listening to listen rather than listening to respond.
Yes, that's a big one.
And
a big one.
unfortunately, like, thankfully for me, I've got a lot of youth that tell me a whole bunch of things, going through the whole bunch of things in their lives, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Not just judging, not saying anything, just listen to what they have to say until they ask me, what are your thoughts upon this and so forth, and I'll tell them, but I'll rather let them say their story, because at the end they might just say thank you for just listening.
Yeah,
And that's what we're
that's a skill not a lot of people have, Nate.
No.
Like, and not even in the church. I think generally as humans, we think we know better than the other person. And sometimes like we want to problem solve, when sometimes you just have to listen.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you've mentioned, listening to to understand,
That's right.
rather than listening to respond.
Yes.
Because now another element of church, which is something that for me, like I began struggling with,
Right.
and I always have to remind myself of where I've come from,
Yeah.
and the things like, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's it.
I have to every day, like I keep telling myself like, Narima, you're not perfect. Narima, you're not perfect. And I find the more I'm at the foot of the cross,
Yes.
and I'm declaring my sins to God,
That's right, yeah.
the more humble and
That's
less judgmental I am, because I'm so aware of my own sin.
Yes.
I'm so aware of the things I'm trying to overcome.
That's right, yeah.
That when I see someone else trying to overcome something, I don't judge.
That's right.
Because what I'm trying to overcome is so prominent in my head, rather than me not, having that relationship with God,
Yes.
me not thinking that I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
And then it's so quick to become a judge.
Yes.
It's so quick for someone to say something and you're like, oh, well, ew.
Yeah.
When you literally
Yep.
do the same thing, or
Yep.
have done the same thing.
Exactly that.
So I think that's a skill that not everyone has.
No.
And I think it's a skill that you rightly said is lacking.
Yeah.
non-judgmental spaces, open spaces, you know, creating an environment with a psychological safety.
Yes.
That's something like we talk about a lot of work that I do in my role. And trying to create that can be so difficult because of all of the layers of of what a person has experienced, etc. Like it can get really difficult to create it.
It's true.
But I agree with you. It's something
true.
that has to be done.
And I think sometimes to a point, that's why some, especially the young ones, hide their talent, going back to the whole talent situation, because they're seeing this upper echelon that's so high for them to reach and so forth, that to the point where they're like, what's the point? Are they going to look at me? Let's just say someone like to sing, but they know only about secular songs and so forth, and then come into the church now and then learn about different things, and it's like, I'm not too sure, because would it accept me, the fact that I've got a voice, but then all I know is how to sing in this way? How are they going to help me to actually grow my talent?
Wow, that's deep. And I didn't even think about that. So someone having a talent, God's given them a talent. God could be asking them to come into the church and or use whatever talent that is for the church. But because they've used that specific skill in the secular world, that judgment, that connotation, the association, and the fear of not being accepted can stop them from coming. That's actually quite deep. How many people, like, you know, if you can just imagine, like, how many people have that fear? I know when I was like doing stuff at church, and it's only been a couple of years, like there is always like an expectation, and the expectation, like you said, can be quite high, and there's no real space and room for rest. That's just my own opinion.
I mean, because think of it, if you look at the many people that God chose to actually lead his people to do great things, they weren't perfect.
They weren't.
And we're not perfect either. He's asking for the real, raw person, like literally to go and mold and make.
Literally.
So that way they don't end up praising and looking to themselves for all the glory and so forth, but it's the case of giving back to God who's given them that talent. You've got Moses, and then going to the New Testament, just another example, you got Paul, who nobody thought, he's going to actually go and raise Christians. He was persecuting them at the start. And then it took for a bit of blindness to be guided by the right person, in order for his sight now to see, right, I can see the picture of where I'm supposed to be going. Instead of decreasing, I'm going to be increasing with Christians.
You made me think of like, you know, I don't know, it's in the Old Testament, but the potter, the potter's hands and where the clay, right? And you're actually making me think like the church should be the, I forgot what it's called, mantle, pestle, whatever it is that the clay sits on, where God molds people and a part of God, an area where God can mold people. But we're actually operating in a way where we are the shop. Like we're trying to be where all the perfect made vases are, and we're not giving room for people to come in, get onto that table, be molded by God, so that, do you know what I mean, they can be a new creation. We're actually trying to be a house of new creation when it's like, but it's a continual process.
Exactly.
You know?
But it's like transferring the theory or the theology that's being preached to actually practicing to the practical. A lot of us are still stuck on just the theoretical part where, we've been spoken to. It sounds good, great sermon, blah, blah. But then are you transferring that to everyday life from just religion to relationship? So, of course, religion is what we might see on Sabbath or for those on Sunday and so forth. But relationship is actually talking about what you've heard and what you've experienced and so forth, and carrying it throughout the week.
Into your day-to-day. So let's go back to your story now. Okay, so we spoke about, you know, you being 17, having that experience abroad in Barcelona. You mentioned not having social media and how that impacted you. We've went back and spoke about how your mum, you know, really raised you all right, and really instilled good values. The fact that from a young age you wanted to be at church and you looked forward to prayer meetings. You spoke about, you know, the fact that you had role models that you looked up to, and you're like, oh my goodness, in the church, you know, men that you could actually try and emulate. So one thing I want to ask is, now considering after 17, right? You, after that experience in Barcelona, you mentioned the Facebook thing as well. Tuesday Bible, Friday just inspiration.
Inspirational quotes.
Inspirational quotes. Now, talk me through, beginning like early 20s, up until becoming now an elder, yeah? Because from what you're telling me already, obviously, like, hindsight is always 2020, right? You always look back and you're like, oh my goodness, I did have those skills, you know?
All this,
Literally, like, God was actually preparing me, but in the moment, you
Yeah.
can't see it. So talk me through, like, now the journey where, okay, you're doing this stuff on Facebook.
Yes.
Were you involved in, you said you got involved in church and started doing stuff.
involved,
What were you doing in church, like, in your early 20s?
So early 20s, I was pretty much in the department called Religious Liberties Department
Ooh.
/ Adventist Muslim
Yes,
Relations.
can you just talk a little bit about what that department
So
does?
religious liberties is literally the case where we're advocating for standing up for what somebody believes, regardless of their actual religion, their belief and so forth. So delving in and finding out how to actually get people who actually have a belief to stand up for, because we had so many different things going out into the world, like same-sex relations that will be taught to children, and so, where parents are wondering, how am I going to deter or stop my child from learning these things? Some children had the mindset to say, look, I don't want to learn this, while others, the case of where there had to be forms written out and so forth.
Okay.
So we had to, it involves a lot of legal process, basically within the area, then actually with the legal way of how to sort it out and to go in that direction.
Yeah. So this religious liberties, you mentioned it's helping people who are even non-Christian.
Yes.
Do you know what? I never knew that.
Non-Christian as well, yeah.
I thought it was just I thought it was just SDA, to be honest. I thought it was just Christian, you know.
I mean, we have it, but it's the case of where others, they're actually going toward that direction, but it's also if you want to help out others go into that.
That is so powerful. My goodness, I didn't realize we did that.
Your child, you don't want them to learn a certain thing because it goes against their beliefs.
Yeah.
Then suppose there's another parent has another child as a child as well, but they don't want them to learn the same thing.
Yeah.
Then it's the case of helping them out.
Yeah.
By to
figure out how legally you can go about doing that.
Correct.
That is so amazing.
So
I literally thought it was just Christianity. So I'm glad that we're actually supporting people outside of the Christian faith.
Hence
I think
why
that's
it's
really
called
good.
Religious liberty, not just Christian liberty.
Christian liberty, So, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, and considering how deep it is within the law, how did you find yourself being there, like, at such an early age?
You know what? The case with my pastor just pointed out to me at one nominating committee, was like, this is for you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
not even saying this is for you.
I said, this one's for you. Literally, like, I've got someone in mind for this. Basically, on nominating committee, and he was like, this one here, this is for you to become the liberty leader. I'm leader at the time, going through. So me and my sister and so forth, going through the whole process and different things and studies and so forth. Wow. It's the case where other beliefs and religions were going ahead and doing this thing already. Okay. But we were sort of almost on the catch up, so it's actually going forth to actually promoting it a bit more. Okay. So there was a certain pastor, so forth, that actually was the director of this, and he pushed this forward, this agenda forward. Yeah. And then we actually went along with him and actually went and learned how to actually put our points together and find out about the legal side of things and how that works with the lawyers and solicitors, and then actually put in the point across, because no one can't just write anything in terms of in a statement. You have to write a solid formal statement saying we do not want this, basically, and that we're advocating against it. So
So was that the first role you got into at church?
The first role, no. The first role, I would say, I think it would be a deacon. Yeah.
Oh, you were a deacon before that?
I was a deacon before that, yeah. My pastor called me aside and said, look, I would like you to become trained to become a deacon. Yeah. This was like just one Sabbath afternoon after AYS, the Adventist Youth Society. Yeah. And literally, I just said, okay, I'll take it. Yeah. That's fine, because I'm just serving and so forth.
Yeah, on Sabbath and stuff like that. Okay.
So then when I became ordained, then I was able to take the communion with emblems to actually to serve them and so forth. Yeah. And that's what I became. And then after that, I went into the Advanced Muslim Relations and went to Sabbath school. Yeah. So Sabbath school I was involved in as well. And it just went on and on.
And you kept having roles. So have you always had a position? This is what I'm hearing. So hold on. You were a youth and then you became a deacon in training. And then you became a deacon. Yeah. And then you joined Religious Liberties.
So along the lines of the deacon and deacon in training, I was also in the AYS department.
And in AYS. Oh my gosh.
And bear in mind, this AYS department was massive that I was in. It was like me and my friend at the time, like my childhood friend, we were the youngest of the lot.
Wow.
I think it was like 16, 15 or something like that. And literally, that's what happened.
Yeah, my goodness. So, okay. And then Religious Liberties, then Muslim Relations, and then Elder.
Elder came along. Elder came along. After that. Yeah.
That is wild. Like you've been serving since day. And I think that's actually like a testament to like how you have potentially remained close to God. So maybe even speak a bit about that. Yeah. no journey, I believe, right, in Christianity is linear, right?
No.
They're even like having positions in church, etc. like
Yes.
that. There's times where your faith isn't always, 100%.
definitely
There's
not.
moments where we are literally in the pit and we're
Yes.
like, can't see a way out. We're struggling. Like
Yes.
God might not be answering us the way we want him to answer us.
Yeah.
So we start questioning things.
Yes.
Like along your journey, have there been any times where, for example, I know we've spoken about how, when it came to being an elder, you said no 3 times. But I guess even before that,
Yes.
to get you to a point where you can hear and discern God's voice, what opportunities did you have to be able to practice discerning his voice? Because it doesn't just come one day, right?
Definitely not.
So I guess before you get to hearing, is this God, is this God, is this God?
Yes.
What other experiences have you had on your journey with God and in relationship with him where you've had the opportunity to be able to hear his voice and get to know what his voice is?
When you're listening to a sermon or so forth, like just watching it on your iPad or your laptop or so forth, and then you hear a message out of it, or you hear a sermon, that's most likely where I heard most of my messages that I hear from God.
Yeah.
But even through reading his word, studying his word and so forth, that was the same thing that happened. It's like you got the answer from there. It's like, oh, thank you, Lord. I get it now. I get it. Snapped.
So are you reading with intention of like, I have a question in mind, or like you're having conversations already with God in prayer, like this, what's going on here, what's going on there.
So,
and then in you reading the word, that's when you're like, oh my gosh,
yes,
you're answering me because this is an answer to what I've asked you.
yes,
Is that?
Yeah. So pretty much it's the case where I pray about it and then the answer doesn't come straight away. But then when I'm reading through God's word or when I'm actually listening to a sermon, so forth, there's something in there for me. There's something there within that word that says to me exactly what the answer I'm looking for. And it's like, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how I would have figured out or found out this answer.
Yeah.
Maybe in the case where someone might have told me.
Yeah.
But it's not straight away. But with the whole eldership thing, literally, it was a case where someone came to me.
So you didn't even go search?
No.
You weren't asking God them questions, innit? Because you didn't want the answer. You were avoiding it at all costs.
Not that way. All costs, literally.
But God brought the person.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, literally brought the person. And the person that was a new pastor and thinking, how does he know that I'm like this? Like, what's going on?
God's been having words with him already.
What's going on, literally? And I'm thinking,
my gosh.
how does he know that literally I am in my room studying and so forth, doing all this, but I'm trying to, don't want to be doing that,
Yeah. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know what? You're actually making me think of how God always calls us and he's forever chasing us.
Yes.
He's forever running after us. He's forever trying to woo us back to him.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because I'm even thinking about times where like I've been praying the wrong prayer.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been asking God to answer things that are the wrong questions. Imagine you're out here asking him for everything you're asking, but you're not asking him, do you want me to, what do you want me to do, when it comes to my role in the church?
Yep.
And he's now like, Nath, you've been asking the wrong question for far too long. I'm going to bring it to you. I'm going to tell you in your face.
But I think,
that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's like how Martin Luther King says that faith is taking, I can't quote that, but faith is taking the first step even though you can't see the whole staircase. You might not know, of course, within that one step where you're going to, but it's basically allowing God to lead you.
Yeah.
To hold you by your hands.
Yeah.
Even though you can't see what's ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the faith is having an Abraham-like faith
Yeah.
go ahead to this land
Yeah.
that you don't even have a clue about.
Yeah.
I'm calling you from your land where you're you're basically living comfortably.
Yes.
Taking you out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
That was taking me out of my comfort zone. And
Yeah.
even though I still get the butterflies, it's like, it's good because I'm not relying on myself to carry me through different tasks and different things. It's relying upon God to actually lead me and go through those areas.
Yeah. I want to touch on something you had said earlier on, and part of what we've just been discussing is like actually getting to the point where you yield to his will for you.
Right.
Even though it's taking it out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, including myself, a majority of the times, I'm a lot better now, okay? And we're getting better. Is the fight to yield to his will.
Yes.
Because the uncomfortability, we love to be comfortable.
Yes.
We like to live soft life and, we want to be cozy and just coast, But when God is calling you to do something that's like, oh my gosh, it can be very hard to like yield and be humble and to go in humility as well, to go in your weakness in order to spread his word, right? And to live in your purpose. What would you say is like something that has helped you. I know it took you 3 times, okay? Now, it weren't on the first go.
No, it weren't the first
okay.
go. Definitely not the first
It weren't
go.
on the first go.
No, definitely not.
But how now when you think back, like, what would you say helps or has helped you get to a point of yielding and saying, okay, God, I'm going to do it? Like, what actually makes you do it?
It's the case of praying first. Prayer is definitely ideal and so forth, but also just not only studying, but saying, Lord, you're taking this route with me and you're going to lead. That's the main thing. Lord, I'm surrendering this decision over to you. You do what you think seems best and take me forth. It's about making a decision. And
It's actually just deciding.
Deciding.
I'm going to.
That's
I
right.
may not still want to do it.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it.
Right. Courage. Yeah.
Sign that lacks.
So you know,
sign we all lack.
Yeah. So you know,
sometimes
of course, it just was 1 verse 9 where it talks about be strong and of good courage and so forth, and to go because the Lord is with you.
Yeah.
Even though I might not feel like I'm going or want to go, I'm still going.
Yeah.
Like times where I'm at the gym
Yeah.
and I'm a bit tired, or I'm saying I'm a bit bored, but I still continue to persist in, regardless of the fact of my state. I'll rather not say that I'm tired. I'm saying I'm going to still go. Because the more I'm focused on saying, I'm tired and so forth, it's almost like, it's almost similar to like when Peter was walking on the water towards Christ. The doubt, basically, when he saw the winds and the waves and the boisterous, the wind basically that was around him and so forth, he didn't keep his eyes on Christ. It's about our focus.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So if our focus is on Christ, then there won't be any time to fight or have a flight.
That is so true.
So
that is so true.
So like, it's for me, it's just mainly the focus and deciding.
And deciding.
Because
that focus aspect is so key. Because, you know, I'm thinking like, and maybe even have an experience like this where me doing this podcast has been like, the first time I got the idea of the podcast was like 2017, 2018.
Right.
And I just said no, because I'm not for speaking in the public image. Like, I'm not about that. Like, I don't like the negative aspects that come with that. Like people having comments, do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. That's not me. So I was like, when God told me to do it, I was like, I wrote it all down. Like the vision that came, I wrote it all down word for word on paper.
Right.
The execution is where I was like, because now I took my eye off who was giving me the vision. Because everything I wrote down was down to questions, down to season topics, down to everything, right? So it was so meticulous everything that was coming to me. Literally within one day I had written everything.
Wow.
So like I took my eye off of the message God was giving me and I started looking at me, thinking I'm doing it in my own power, thinking I'm looking at all of the things that could go wrong rather than looking at the God who does not do anything wrong.
Right.
So how would he give me something that would become wrong?
Exactly.
That would only happen if I decide to do things my way and I don't do things his way.
Exactly.
So that for me was like a journey of now to the point where, you know, today I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And I've had conversations with him where I'm like, okay, if this is for you, it's not for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing this for myself because I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I had to tell him, like, I love how you mentioned the 3 times he came to you, because for me, like, the symbolism in 3 for me is so deep.
Yes.
And I take it from the story of Gideon, and I've mentioned it previously on the podcast of, you know, when he was like, put the dew on the grass and not on the tent, the dew on the tent, not on the grass, and then move the sun, right? Hold the sun still. Like, that's the conversations I have with God. Like, just me and him in prayer. And I'm like, if this is what you want me to do, you need to do X. And then he does it. And I'm like, and again, because I'm trying to make sure it's you and not me.
That's right.
And he's been able to like do so many things, put so many people in my life. Like before I decided, Naif, to do this, before I made that decision, I did not have a community. Can you imagine? I did not have a big community in the church.
I can only say thank God.
The minute I said, I decided, I'm only just deep in this from what you said. The minute I decided and I told God in our secret place, I was like, I'm going to do this. The amount of people I've met, majority of the people on this podcast, I don't know from Adam. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Or I've literally met them since I said yes. Since I told God yes, I have met them. So I'm like, for me already, it's like the minute you say yes to God, the minute you decide to walk in God's purpose and calling for you, even though it takes you out of your comfort zone, he has everything in there. You know, you just mentioned like walking out in faith and just taking one step and trusting that the next step is going to be there. That's what I've seen. But I'm not going to lie, there's still times where, do you know what I mean? I'm like, I look up and I'm like time to release them. I'm like, do you know what I mean? So the doubt and the fear, in all honesty, it still comes because I'm human. Like the thoughts still come, you know, the doubt still comes, but I'm consistently trying to remind myself of what God has already done. And I'm like, but look at who I've just interviewed. I didn't know them. And they said yes. Do you know what I mean? Look at what he's been able to provide for this. I didn't have a way to provide for this. He's managed to make things happen. So I'm trying to combat that fear, that doubt with, no, but look at what God's done.
That's right.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I also pray the prayer of, Lord, if you don't want me to do this no more, like, you know, just take it away because you can. And he hasn't.
Well,
he just keeps giving things,
Thank
you know.
God for that.
So like, that's something I love about what you said.
You got texts actually going around in my mind actually in the moment, and one I actually thought of, I believe it's from Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 6, but trusting in the Lord with all your heart and leaning not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. We're not leaning on our own. We're leaning on the fact that God's going to take care of us. And if God's going to take care of us, he's going to direct us. The one thing I noticed when going around with God and so forth is a sense of direction. The world goes around, but it's only God that will make your path go forward.
That is so deep. And go forward to a place where even when it comes to like success with talents and skills, they always say like money doesn't bring you happiness, you know. And I think that true fulfillment, like you're saying, when as you've just said, like God makes your path go forward. It's like your path, you can go forward without God, but you're actually not getting anywhere, because within you internally, you're not getting fulfilled. You're consistently empty. Whereas on the path with God, it's true fulfillment. It's true happiness. It's true joy. And it's long lasting. You know, it's not fleeting. That's like the path going forward, because your whole self is going with you, not an empty, you're not empty. That's just what I've just thought of when you just said that.
So like, you know, when you said that, it's made me thought of like, you know, they say in The Lion King, the circle of life, blah, blah. Yeah, circle of life, but where are you going?
Where are you going?
So who you actually, you know, helping out, who you actually having an influence on and so forth. And it's actually just trusting in God, because when you realise it, he turned the world upside down with 12 uneducated men.
12 uneducated men.
Who had no clue of, and... you know, obviously I do write quotes.
What can he do with more people? Do you know, you're making me think like, what could he do with people now with the knowledge, the skills, the education? Do you know what I mean? Like,
so he gave them talents.
If we just apply.
So he literally gave them talents actually to go and promote, not only promote, but to put across in the world. And it goes to the point, of course, he found a few fishermen. And then there's the quote that if you feed a man, then if you feed a man a fish, you fed him for the day. But if you teach a man how to fish, you fed him for life. And that's what he did with the disciples. He taught them how to fish. And ever since, disciples have been multiplying and keep fishing. So
that is so powerful.
It's literally, you know, it's the go-to thing. It
is. No, I love that. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone? So I'm thinking about the conversation we've had in terms of your experience. What advice I want to touch more, just purely because the point you mentioned about having role models, right? I think the parent thing is obviously depends on your parents. You can't choose your parents. I want to sort of hone in on the role models aspect. What would you say to someone who currently doesn't have the right male role models? What advice would you give to them in terms of like a way to try and get role models? What do they need to do to like put themselves in spaces and communities where they can get those role models? And the importance of those role models in helping them on that journey of who they want to become. Let's speak more to that. What advice would you give to someone who's like...
Okay, so depending on whether they're Christian or not Christian?
I'd say, let's start with Christian and then we'll go to not Christian.
So with the Christian, I would say basically first things first, pray. Pray, because you want to be led to the right person that will guide you on that path to go into getting success to go in the right direction.
Yeah.
Praying first, and then as well as just being open in a space, in a safe space. So of course it may be the church and so forth, but praying and ask for guidance, ask for leadership. Well, ask to be led into that area, as well as being. So praying first, and then of course going to ask someone that you can trust that will guide you into that area. So you might have a best friend, you might have a close brother, might have a mother or so forth, or even might have a father if it comes to. So literally, prayer first, I would say the main thing. For the power
So
of prayer,
prayer, and then ask God to lead you to someone, lead you to that community, lead you to that role model.
That's right. It's basically praying and acting.
And acting. Okay. So I guess even in the leading, like you said, there's an action.
That's right.
So would the action be for them to put themselves in a position to be able to come into contact with said role models?
Yes.
Rather than go to the spaces you want to eventually be in, kind of a thing.
Yes.
So if you are seeking positive, God-fearing role models, then attend church maybe a bit more, or join a community at church, and put yourself in a position where those people could come to you as well. Yeah.
Because the thing is, church is not just within the four walls.
Yes.
When you look at the word church itself, it means called, a gathering. A gathering is not just a building. It's the people that's around. So of course there's a circle of people that you can actually get yourself involved with and actually get to know them and so forth, and find out where you can go from there. Possibly the case of where with the prayer you'll find, you might find your talent and so forth in that area, and then someone can guide you along, a close, respected mentor that you can go with. That's what I would put.
That is actually so good. Church is not the four walls. There are a lot of groups and communities outside of church, of Christians, like prayer groups, Bible study groups, socials where they go on walks, prayer walks and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different communities that you can get involved in. So I think that's definitely such a good one. And then I guess for someone who isn't a Christian, like what would you say? Because I know you've mentioned, you've had some people come up to you that you've inspired, etc. So what would you say to someone who is looking for that community, that sort of role model community, to be able to help them along the journey, who isn't linked in any way to a church?
Find out what your love is. Find out what you wish to do in life, what you love and what you enjoy doing. Because I usually ask a lot of my friends two questions. Are you working? Yeah. Do you love what you're doing? It might be yes, it might be no. Find out exactly if you don't like what you're doing, to go and find out that area and see what you can do to go and attain in that, getting that job or getting that hobby that you love or something in that area. That's what I'll put. But also one thing I would also say for those who are Christian, as well as for those who are not, is waiting. Because one moment of patience could be better than one moment of disaster.
Patience. We should have touched on patience.
One moment of
not
patience.
Being impulsive.
Because some of us, we might think, oh yeah, we got it, but then that's not where we were supposed to be.
No.
When we could have waited a little bit, and that fact that you just waited that little bit, opportunity that you're supposed to be having is on your lap.
Yeah. You're actually even reminding me, when you mentioned patience, you're reminding me of how like the enemy, the devil, whatever, like he wants to distract us from improving, from getting closer to our purpose. And one thing he can do is, especially and this is why when I pray to God, like I pray in my heart, I don't utter, I don't tell nobody. Like me telling him to come and confirm things 3 times is me and him in quiet. Because I know that the devil and all his angels, he can only learn by they can only learn by what we say and what we do. So if I'm speaking in silence with my God, that's between me and my God.
Exactly.
So that's how I know it's his voice, right? But for me, I've noticed when there's times when I've said I want to do something, something presents itself.
Well,
like the thing I say I was gonna do.
Well.
And then I jump on it and I'm like, oh, this must be God. Like, oh my gosh, God, like you really be coming through for me. And then on the other side of it, it's like, no, it's not, because there is no peace. Okay, there is no joy. There is no happiness. Like, it's just chaos and stress, And I've realized that sometimes you have to also, like, the patience aspect, the waiting, the me going back and saying, God, is this you?
Yes.
Confirm it again before I jump onto it. I think
Yes.
it's so important because the enemy wants to distract us. He wants to get us involved in things that is not our purpose.
True.
So even in the searching, like you mentioned, right, where if you're a non-Christian, for example, you don't like what you're doing or you're trying to figure out what your talent is, even as a Christian, you might be presented with something where you're like, oh, maybe I am good at this. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But maybe that's not what your actual skill and talent
Exactly.
is. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because the enemy could then try and pull you to be like, oh no, do something. This is a mediocre.
Yes.
If I get you a little bit busy here,
Yeah.
you're not going to do the thing God's calling you to do.
That's
Because
right.
the thing God's calling you to do is going to be 1,000 times more impactful than
That's
this little thing I can get you busy
Exactly.
doing.
Exactly.
So that patience is
Yep.
so key.
And the one thing also I have to add with, in terms of what would you advise to a Christian or to a non-Christian, write down what you actually want to go and achieve and so forth. If it's to someone who's Christian, write down and say, look, Lord, I'm seeing this, but I want to put your will first.
Yeah.
And put this into your hands
Yeah.
and leave it there.
Yeah.
Because some of us, we might just pray about it, but then it's still in our mind. We haven't transferred it from our mind to the paper and just left it. Or no, our mind to just generally to God. It's a case where we still got it lingering on in mind.
Yeah.
But the moment we link to paper now, it's the case of like, right, I've done it. Shut the book. Get on with my day.
Okay. Do you know what? Do you journal?
Yes.
See, I don't journal. Oh my goodness. You might have to come back because we're literally like at time, yeah?
Yeah.
But I actually want to have a conversation about journaling. I've never journaled.
Right.
I did something when I was in therapy where I was told I had to write down
Yes.
how I felt
Yes.
and then burn the paper and
Correct.
keep writing down how I felt until I had no words left to say because I was writing out the emotion
Yes.
and the trauma, etc.
Yes.
So like, but then when I wrote it down, I couldn't wait to burn it and shred it because I didn't want no evidence of
Nope,
it. Do you know
you
what I
want
mean?
nothing of
Because
it.
it's like a part of inside of
Yeah.
me that I don't want anyone to
Yeah.
ever know. And that's how I feel about my conversations with God. I feel like
Yes.
some of them are they're so deep.
Yes.
They're like so to the core of me that I can only be this honest and open with him. I
Yes.
don't want anyone else's eyes coming onto it. So I think we're going to have to touch on this in another episode. You're going to come back. Nate.
Yeah,
You're
of
gonna
course, I'll come back, yeah.
to talk about
Yeah.
journaling and
Yes.
prayer journaling because
Yes.
I've been hearing a lot about it
Yeah.
and it's crazy you've mentioned it
Trust
because
me.
I hear a lot of people talking about it and
Trust me.
for me in my head I'm like, but God knows. And the same thing you're saying about it lingering, that's something that happens to me. You know, it could linger. I can find it difficult to pray about something and give it to God.
That's right.
And then I start worrying about
Yes.
it. And then I can find myself
Yeah.
trying to move when I'm like, Narima,
Yeah.
get out of God's way. You gave that to God. But have I actually really given it to God as well?
Exactly.
We're going to have a conversation about this.
I mean, there's a song that says, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. A lot of us can take our burdens to the Lord, but are we really leaving it
No,
there?
we're not. We're taking it back with us. We're like, God, so this is it. Look at it.
Yep.
But I'm just going to take it back with me.
Yeah, exactly. So as the King Hezekiah, I took it from the point when there was a king called Hezekiah, basically got some threats from another king and was saying that we're going to do this to your kingdom, to your people and so forth. And Hezekiah took this decree, took it to the Lord in the temple and said, look, Lord, this is what they've said. I'm leaving it at your feet. And in the very next chapter,
Yeah.
185,000 men were killed by one angel.
Wow. That's deep.
So from
We
then
have
on,
to take it to God.
exactly, take it
And
to God
leave
and
it
leave
there.
it there. Leave literally whatever.
And don't try be doing anything about it.
Even if you have to write it down and so forth, and then close that book, get on with your day, just leave it in God's hands.
I'm going to have to try that. Okay, you're going to have to come back and we're going to talk about this
Okay,
more. We're
all
going to
right.
talk about this more.
Yeah, no
So
problem.
in closing,
Yes.
2 things. First thing is, what you've mentioned a lot of Bible verses.
Yes.
But I want you to share a Bible verse that either has inspired you and taken you through your journey or one that's actually quite anchoring for you right now in the season for you.
Which one? That's the question.
Which one?
Which one? Because I'm thinking of Matthew 6 verse 33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
Yeah. Yes.
Also Psalms 23, which is
Yeah.
my favourite.
Yes.
Which is, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall
Yes.
not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
Amen.
I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy
Yes.
rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemies.
Yes.
Thou anointest my head with oil.
Amen.
My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy
Shall
shall
follow
follow
me
me all the days of my life.
Amen.
And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Amen.
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 So-
Those are powerful Bible verses.
Yeah.
And
Praise
I don't know why, like what you've just read in terms of Psalm 20,
Psalm 23.
Psalm 23, when you just mentioned, and I've never heard it this way, just only as you're speaking.
Yes.
So I want to say
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
You know, the verse where the rod and thy staff will
Yes.
comfort
Yes.
me. How, I don't know what the English word is. Those are the opposites.
Yeah. So with
A rod and a staff, they shouldn't comfort you.
So-
They're there to beat you
discipline.
and keep it
Those
into
are-
line.
Those two things are basically for like discipline, as in literally, if you're going the wrong path or going the way, like I must have got strayed sometimes, so forth, where I have to be pulled back. And if I've like, right, let me get round the hook and go to wherever I want to go in, I'm getting disciplined with a bit of chastisement and so forth.
Yeah.
The stuff is coming out.
Yeah, that could be a whole nother season of how do we change the way we look at God's discipline of us so that discipline gives us comfort.
Right.
Because normally when he disciplines us, we're like,
Exactly.
We're like, no, is this even my God? You know, does he even love me? How do you find comfort in discipline? Oh my goodness, that's a whole other season. Okay. Woo, child. We have talked so much, Nath, honestly. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being open.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Vulnerable. You're welcome. Honestly, like I've learned so much more about you. And honestly, what you've shared has not only impacted me, but I'm sure it's impacted our viewers. So in closing, last question. Is there anything you're working on, anything you want to share, you know, to encourage people to maybe get in contact with you, maybe your socials, the church you go to, you know?
Well, I do have like a men's group setting on Facebook.
Okay.
And literally it's the case where I write a lot of bits of devotional in there every Friday.
Amazing.
And literally put it out there for the men. So that's on my Facebook.
What's the Facebook?
My Facebook is Nate S. Green. And that's the...
I will put that in the description.
But
yes.
It's called Men's Ministries.
Okay.
So if you do follow and you do want to actually, hopefully it's reasonable so forth. But yeah,
we'll put the links. Okay, so Men's Ministries on Facebook.
Men's Ministries on the Facebook, but it's actually Edmonton's Men's Ministries.
Okay.
But it's just for
you lead
all
it.
men.
Yeah. Okay. So is the name of it Edmonton Men's Ministry?
Yes. Edmonton
okay.
Men's, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get the details and I'll link it. That's amazing. So there's a forum for men to go to be able to connect with you. Yeah.
Because as you said, we need men,
yes,
especially in the church.
We do. We're there.
Yeah.
Where they are.
I mean, the ratio was once, was it 3-1 is with women to men?
My goodness.
And now I'm hearing it's about 9.
Serious?
So that's what I'm,
I mean, they ain't man. I know that.
We spoke about this in one of our AYC.
Yeah.
No time
That's a whole nother series. You know, where are the men going in the church? Maybe there needs to be a man's version of this. Like maybe I have to organize one where it's just like the men speaking about like the issues we're gonna talk about. Yes, you're gonna have to lead that now. All right, cool. Thank you so much, Nath. Honestly, appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me again. God bless you.
Thank you.
As well.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe, tap that notification bell, follow and engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and Spotify. Just search Faith in Action Pod. See you on the next episode.